The last Honda Civic Type R was unquestionably impressive, but it didn't really look like it was built for grown-ups. Now, the overwhelming exterior and underwhelming interior didn't overshadow the drive experience, which was excellent, but they also didn't do it any favors as far as impressing the in-laws. Now, after what we'll call a gap year, the Type R is back, and not only does it look better than before, but it somehow manages to drive better too. For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. Well, let's start with some bad news. No track time. Bit of a bummer, I know. I'm bummed out too. It's not just you guys. But that's the way it goes sometimes. And so I decided to find a nice back road, one of my favorites that isn't too far from home, although I will say no complaints about driving this car long distances. So maybe let's jump into that. This is obviously based on the newest version of the Honda Civic, which is a very good car, and I like driving it. It's comfortable, it's spacious, it feels good, it makes up for a lot of the shortcomings of the last Civic, and all of that stuff, well, obviously applies here. This is a very good car. Now, no car is perfect, and I probably don't need to tell you guys that because you're all a bunch of reasonable human beings. Okay, I take that back. Some of you are reasonable, so you'll know that no car is perfect, but I gotta say, Honda tried really hard here, and yes, I've only been driving it for the better part of a day, but I do think it's come pretty close. Now, there are a few shortcomings. We will get to those, but as far as a complete package, this thing is fantastic. I liked driving the last Civic Type R, but it was a little much for me, especially in the styling department. I think a lot of you guys out there will agree. I think it's really ugly. I get it. Everybody's tastes are different. That's why we all are our own individuals. But I think objectively speaking, that thing wasn't very stylish. This changes that completely. The new Civic in general is a very good looking car, I think, for a compact mainstream car, but this just ratchets up the styling without going overboard the way the last one did. It was very garish. It had that Gundam kind of over the top, really sharp angles. All of that's gone. Yeah, you got that big black spoiler on the back, but I can live with that because it adds that little air of coolness that you want in a car like this. You kind of want to show off. You want people to know that it's something special, but the last one was over the top, and this is just perfect. And then this interior, man, what can I say? It's got everything I love about the regular Civic. So you've got this kind of honeycomb mesh that spans the grille, but then these red front seats. Not only do they look cool, but they are very comfortable. And then on top of that, you've got this red carpet. It's just perfect. I love the look of it. I do love interacting with everything in here. This machined aluminum shift knob, it's very nice. The shifter itself, unsurprisingly, really great action. Same with the clutch. It's perfect setup. It's got auto rev matching. Now, maybe I just can't figure it out, but I don't see a way to actually turn it off. There's a sport mode and a normal mode, but I think it's kind of got auto rev matching all the time, or maybe the normal is how you turn it off. I don't know, but I do like leaving it on. Yeah, it kind of spikes those revs better than I could. It's a little tight in this pedal box, awkward with the steering wheel for me to get my leg over and around. My heel ends up running into this console, so I do like taking advantage of what's being provided to me with that auto rev match. And then you've got this 2-liter turbocharged engine. It's just an upgraded version of the last one. It makes 315 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, and it's very responsive. The throttle is very nice. I do like it. It maxes out at something like 25.2 pounds of boost, which is plenty. But you know, overall, I really like how easy this car is to drive. normally. If you're not getting all aggressive and blowing off some steam, you just want to cruise around, maybe you want to use it to commute in, it's perfect. And I actually find, as weird as this may sound, this might be the easiest throttle pedal to modulate that I've experienced in, I don't know, the last 5 years. Yeah, I know that sounds like a little bit of a strange compliment, but I do really like that. Really easy to maintain a constant speed. It's also not egging you on, and I've talked about this before. Certain cars, there's just always that kind of devil on your shoulder. I think the Cadillac CT5V Blackwing is one that was definitely like that when I tested it. Just always encouraging you. Whether you liked it or not, it was just pushing you to push harder and harder. But this is not like that at all. You can just drive it like a normal car. But then when you want to have fun, downshift. This thing is quick. It's properly quick. It's not overwhelming. You are very much aware of what's happening. It's kind of the type of speed that you'd expect from this car, and that I very much like. Now, otherwise, just about everything you could imagine is here. I've got this big touchscreen on the dash. It's got wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It's also got a full advanced safety suite. That is very nice to see, especially with this manual car. That's something that a brand like Subaru has struggled with the WRX, and yes, the former STI. You couldn't get a full advanced safety suite with a manual transmission. The way EyeSight works, not compatible. This thing, I like that it's got adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, all that stuff. Now, usually I do say in a car like this, that's a performance car, you don't need it. But again, I like the duality of it because you can very easily use this as a daily driver. And in that case, you're gonna want that advanced safety stuff, but it doesn't feel like it's very intrusive, very easy to turn off. There's this one button down here by my left knee, and I can just turn everything off all at once, or I can turn it on. So I really do like that, and everything else very easy to interact with. I do like that. The other thing I want to talk about, now this is technically based on the Honda Civic hatchback, but I mean, come on, take a look at that. Yes, it's got the lift back glass, but this is not a hatchback. Now, again, I am not complaining. I really do think it looks cool. It looks way better than the last one. The very shape of it is much nicer, but I like that it kind of looks like a sedan, and it's got that rear wiper. That's something that I always loved. Going to Japan, seeing STIs on the road that have a rear wiper on the sedan models, something that I always thought was really neat, and this kind of emulates that. Yes, it is a hatchback, at least officially, but really it's more of a sedan in my books, especially when you look at that silhouette. So I think it's a cool little touch to have that rear wiper. You can just see it tucked behind that massive wing on the back. And that is really cool. Everything about this car is cool. Couple little issues. This touchscreen rattles like crazy. And I noticed the same thing in the Honda HR-V when I test drove that not too long ago. And it's got the same setup. Sorry, distracted there. It's got the same setup and it had the same problem. So a little disappointed to see that. Could be an ongoing issue, but again, you're probably not going to complain about it, especially not on a road like this one. Having as much fun as I'm having. Just like before, honestly, there's not a ton of torque steer. This thing doesn't understeer. It's very well balanced. And so is the Hyundai Elantra N and the Kona N. Those are kind of the newest competitors for this thing. And Honda has really stepped its game up. Not that it absolutely needed to, but really, I think Honda's saying, if you're gonna come at me, you better come at me hard. Those are both two very good cars, but I would have to give the edge. If it were my money, I am leaning towards this. Now, unfortunately, like I said earlier, no opportunity to get this out on the track, but at the same time, how often are you going to the track? Most of the time in a car like this, you are driving it on public roads. So it is nice to test it out here and just wow. Like I said, no car is perfect, but I do think this one comes a pretty damn close. Like I said, no car is perfect, but I feel like this new Type R comes pretty close. It builds on all the best stuff from last time, but it looks way more mature and grown up. Now add in that little bit of rawness I think the last one was missing, and this just might be my car of the year.